Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, as always, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magicman. This is episode 503, and we're doing the show live for about the fifth time on twitch.tv/MMOBomb. Some tech issues, really, chat, we were hanging out having a good time, but yeah, tech issues are never fun. Fingers crossed, we should be okay now, hopefully, one would hope. We got new games, we got all kinds of stuff to cover, and MMO anniversaries that are sure to make you feel old as we go through those as well. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Audible, Spotify, thank you so much. Give it a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. But most importantly, put your weekly bombs and your question of the week answers in the comments on YouTube or MMOBomb. It's the back half of the show. You don't put them there. There's no back half of the show. The show's half the length, and then I get emails yelling at me because the show was shorter. I feel like that's a you thing, not a me thing. So throw them in the comments down below. Joining me to go over all the fun stuff today, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
You know, if you just kept talking about that part, you could have just extended the show and then they could complain that it was shorter.
Yeah, I could do a 20-minute diatribe on I can't do a weekly bomb or a question of the week if you don't answer the damn things for 25 minutes, and that would fill the gap. You're right. Also on the line, Mr. Troy Blackburn, the Noob Fridge from a brand new location. Looking good, sir.
Yeah, I got a new setup, new studio, ready to go. In the time from where we tried to start the show and when we're actually running the show, it has now stopped snowing.
It'll continue. It'll continue again. It's doing the same thing here. So very lovely winter weather. If you're into skiing and stuff like that, there's plenty of places that you'll have plenty of snow to go ahead and do that. On that note, though, we here should get started with the news. Chat saying the tech issues aren't fun for me, but they're great entertainment for chat. I feel like, chat, you're really with me. You got that whole empathy thing going. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hey, before we get into some MMO anniversaries that are guaranteed to make you feel very, very old that are happening this year, 2024, let's take a look at some new upcoming games, whether they're going to be released shortly, have demos coming out with different events like Steam Next Fest, or if maybe they've existed for a while, but now they're changing models, games that go free to play, stuff like that. And first up, we're going to take a look at Wakerunners. This is an upcoming team battle game from the makers of Dave the Diver, and they're also working on another project too, but this was the first time we heard about this. You can expect to see this game at Steam Next Fest on February 5th. There'll be a demo there for that. Mint Rocket is billing this as a 4v4 and 5v5 action game set in a dystopian sci-fi future. Characters will have their own abilities and battle styles. You'll be able to swap characters mid-battle, and the demo will include 7 playable characters and 5 game modes when it comes out at the beginning of February. Troy, this kind of, like when we were talking about this previously during take 1 of this godforsaken show, God has turned his back on the Always Online podcast for today. We started commenting about initial thoughts, and you wrote this up. You took a look at the trailer. You got the information from Mint Rocket. It does have kind of that isometric, is it a MOBA-ish type game, or is this like a battle arena type game with just that MOBA camera style? But this definitely looked like something that would be right up your alley.
Yeah, for sure. It looks, from the little snippets of gameplay that we get in this trailer, it's hard to tell, but it looks like it's fast-paced. It looks like it's a lot of real action-y combat. So I'm hoping there are maybe some objectives and some other things to do in the game as well, besides just fight. As Q brought up in the previous show, we don't know if there's MOBA lanes or jungle or anything like that.
Show. You're not wrong.
Well, it was still snowing, Q said.
Yeah, and there are a couple snippets here where you can, to Q's point, though, that she made and you haven't heard because it was on a previous show that will be deleted. There is a map in the upper left-hand corner in some of these snapshots, and it doesn't appear, Q, to be MOBA-ish, dedicated, clearly visible 3 lanes or whatever. It does seem to be, at least again in these little snippets, to be like more larger, almost Overwatch type, battle areas when you can catch them in the upper left-hand corner there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just looking at it, I'm not sure it's giving me MOBA vibes
Yeah, I agree.
anyway. It it I think it's pretty much what they said it is. It's a battler. It's a battler, and it's not necessarily a shooter. It's, bring what weapons you have and beat the crap out of each other kind of thing. So
You're not going to be playing this, are you?
probably not.
Yeah, I didn't really think that this was a Q one. All right, how about this? I have a prediction that Q is not going to be interested in this one, but if she watched the trailer, she's going to be all about the trailer. Because I absolutely was all about the trailer, and I was like, Q will be one of those that like gets this. It's cute and funny for most, but if you like remember 80s sitcom intros and credit sequences, it's absolutely hysterical. So this is Ascendant Infinity. Now, we've known about this for a little while. We reported on it a couple of months ago, 1 or 2 pieces. We just knew it was coming. This is from PlayFusion. That studio, if you remember, is made up of some JAGX and RuneScape X developers. This is their kind of squad-based tactical first-person shooter. It is Unreal 5. And it's kind of got like the biopunk aesthetic and their different characters and their landscapes. One of the big things I remember initially them talking about on this, Troy, was like the environments, right? They're going to be highly impacted by things that go on in the game, whether that's from the players destroying things or from events on the map destroying it, like the big catastrophe thing going on that they call the Cascade. So trying to set itself apart from the rest of the genre with like those real-time map changes, and those can be triggered by player events. So kind of makes that the idea being, and we'll see what the execution is like, the idea being that like even if you've played map A 150 times, out of those 150 times, it has played a multitude of different ways, which is compelling to me on paper. But how compelling will it be once we get in there? I don't know. I love this trailer, though, courtesy of IGN. Gore Lazard is played by your mom. That's fantastic. They did a really great job with the trailer.
This one looks like it could be a lot of fun. 80s.
Yeah, I can't play the music, but it is like, if you've ever watched Perfect Strangers, like imagine that music over this trailer. That's basically what it is. Go ahead, Troy.
This one looks like it could be a lot of fun. It's got what looks like a little bit of carry the flag with the thing they're trying to extract, and then, of course, it's team-based. And, they've really got to do something to set themselves apart here, I think, if they're going to be, really noticed in the genre. So doing something different with the environments that are changeable and, things can change up a little bit depending on what's going on. I think they really need to lean into that. It needs it needs a little more than a gimmick. It needs something that actually really sets it apart in the genre and, gives people a reason to play this over their current shooter.
I think it has a place, Q, but this is a crowded space. You really have to stand out. It's a first-person shooter on repetitive maps. Is the destruction of the map the clincher that it needs to be? I don't know.
That is kind of the question, and I think part of it depends on how well it works, right? Because lots of games promise like destructible stuff and changing maps and everything like that. So I get it depends on how well it works. Though sometimes the appeal can literally just be that your game looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, but that gets a lot of players in the door quickly, but they don't tend to stay. Like something I expressed last week about Palworld, right? Like that looks like if you like survival games and you like Pokemon and you think it's silly and stuff like that, and you're going to get, I mean, they've already announced they've sold over 1 million copies of that thing in early access, and that's a game that's on Game Pass. So, like, you don't even have to buy it in that situation. So they've already sold over 1 million copies of that. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, how many of those players will still be there? That's it. Troy, I feel like you did a first look for a shooter not all that long ago, maybe in the last year and a half, for a game that did this kind of like same thing as far as their advertising goes, at least, where like the environments were destructible. Like I remember the entire center of the map falling through in your first
Sector's
look.
Edge, one of my favorite first looks that I've done. A game that's gone kind of quiet since then, though they did message me after I included them on a list of like one of my favorite somethings. And they messaged me and said they've got more coming. And I told them, let me know whenever you've got some news to report, because I definitely enjoyed the game. But yeah, it had the entire center of it was like pixel based, and like the entire center of like a structure just fell out from underneath the enemy. And I happened to catch it on video, and it was like one of those moments where they had it in the trailer, and you're like, oh, that's never actually going to happen. And then, sure enough, in like my third game, the whole center of the structure falls out. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So that game shut down.
Did it shut down?
Yeah, I was just looking up. I'm like, how many Steam players do they have? And it says 0. And I'm like, well, that can't be good. But it says Sector's Edge beta. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Let me go see this. Apparently, 4 months ago, Sector's Edge put up a post. We totally missed it. It was in September. That said, hey, this is the last update, and Sector's Edge will shut down on December 17th. We might have covered it. I just don't remember it. This update contains everything we've been working on over the past 10 months. Scroll down to read about new features, rush game mode, destruction system, blah, blah, blah.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Will Sector's Edge return? This isn't the edge of Sector's Edge. We'll revisit it one day and overhaul the style and gameplay, as there are parts of the game we're not happy with. In the meantime, we have exciting ideas for strategy and survival games that we'll work on first. So yeah, I wouldn't expect to be hearing much on the Sector's Edge front.
No, doesn't sound like it. I'm
You
sad to hear
never
that.
see it again. The minute they say we have other things that we want to focus on, they're never going back to that.
That's good night, sweetheart.
Yeah. So, hopefully this one will fare better. Hopefully this one will feel better.
Well, at least keep your mom in a job,
Yeah. What a great trailer. Like, if nothing else, I love your trailer. Man, it is really like a Troy episode today. Next up is Soulmask. This is like, I know, Q. This is a survival.
Why am I here?
Survival sandbox game. Gets a new trailer. You're seeing that now. This is also going to be at Steam Next Fest in February. Primitive land, packed with ancient tribes, blah, blah, blah. You've heard all this before. Recruit and build up your tribe by gathering resources and exploring the world. Now, the tribe system is kind of what's different in this one. That allows you to recruit almost all savage NPCs into your tribe, then organize your tribe to work seamlessly for the betterment of the entire tribe. They'll have daily routines, all kinds of that. Now, you will be collecting masks as you explore the world. Each mask has a distinct form and unique functionality. And they did give us some examples, like where a mask maybe allows you to possess tribe NPCs and mimic things in the environment. So, you got the trailer here, February 5th, Steam Next Fest. You'll get some type of little thing on it. Flintstone says in the comments on this one, I'm going to call this a tidy Valheim. Looks good. Another adventure, build stuff, have fun type game. There you go, Troy. I mean, this one might be that survival game that does something a little additional on top of survival in the whole tribe building stuff that keeps you longer than your first few hours of playthrough. Like, you and I were very pumped about V Rising. When's the last time you played V Rising? Like, good game.
3 months after it launched. Yeah.
Right. Good game. Good survival game. Nice vampire and gothic aesthetic. Loved it. But there's got to be something. Survival games live and die, to me, by the groups of friends. It's not enough for you to put out a survival game and have me come and check it out. I got to get my entire group of survival friends to leave whatever survival game we're playing and come play yours. that I think is going to be one of the things Palworld might struggle with in the future. We'll see. But I love the aesthetic in here, at least. I love the aesthetic.
Yeah, the building up your tribe sounds really interesting. Going out and finding the savages, or however they refer to them in the world, to recruit into your tribe. And then the collection of the masks, which give you different abilities in the world. And the two examples they gave were,
Majora's Mask. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that was not one of them. Go ahead.
were like mimicking the environment and like possessing NPCs and things like that. So they've got a couple of different things going on here that sounds like they could be very interesting. Here again, it just depends on how deeply they dive into those and how deep those systems really are.
Q, I think I can just skip you on this one, right?
Just go ahead and skip me until the dog shuts up.
until the dog shuts up. Now, this one isn't free or isn't new game, but it is going free to play. So Deceit 2, they're putting in a ton of gameplay improvements. We wrote about this last week. We wrote about it again this morning because they detailed a bunch of the changes. So if you've been playing Deceit 2 and you've been unhappy with some things, you might want to check out that article on MMOBomb.com. There are a lot of changes coming to the game. So we'll get the roadmap later this month, and then it's going free to play. And if you own it ahead of free to play, so you still have some time to buy this if you want to, you will get the upcoming DLC for free. You'll get in-game currency to match the amount to equal to the cost of the game, so you lose nothing if you were planning to play for free and buy in-game currency anyway. After free-to-play, those players, free-to-play players, will be able to purchase the upcoming DLC when it goes live later this year. I actually really like the Deceit franchise, but I don't play it. Like, how awful is that?
There are so many games that exist. How are you going to play them all?
Yeah, somebody did an interview this past week where they were like, there's actually a problem. There's too many games on the market. It's making things not sustainable. And to which I said, it hasn't been sustainable for a while. But this is the world we live in. I will definitely try this when it goes free to play. I think it's just one of those things, Q, where you're like, I really like that, but I don't think I want to spend money on it. And so maybe free to play can be a really good thing for Deceit 2.
I mean, as long as they do it right and it's not, filled with all kinds of stuff that people tend to hate about when games go free to play.
True. Troy, can I get you to come play Deceit with me?
Once it goes free to play, I might be interested in checking it out for sure.
Right? It's the same thing.
It didn't do enough to get me to want to buy the game. But free to play, yeah, I could see me and some friends jumping into that and checking it out for sure.
The cow Q saying the dogs are going hard out there. That must be one tough squirrel.
No, it's a 17-year-old boy.
Place your bets. Place your bets. Place your bets. Okay. You want to feel old?
No, I already feel old.
Already too.
You're about to feel old. About to feel real old. As soon as I write down a timestamp here. There are a lot of MMO anniversaries this year, and I know that might sound like a silly sentence, right? Because every year there are MMO anniversaries as all the MMOs out there get 1 year older. But this year, 2024, throughout the year, there will be a number of substantial celebratory anniversary year milestones for some MMOs out there. So I'm going to start on the easier side of things for you. This one might not hurt as much. DCUO, DC Universe Online, turns 13 in 2024. It actually already did. It was on January 11th. But then they released their 13th anniversary plans, the rewards, free gifts for players, all that. And all of these games are going to be doing some type of events. I'm sure some have already, just like DCUO, already kicked them off. DCUO, 13 years old, Q. What's your thought on DCUO? Honestly, I'm kind of amazed it made it.
Well,
not that it's bad, but I'm kind of amazed that it's still here.
It's a game that I've obviously written about because I'm given no choice. But I didn't pay any attention to the launch or anything like that, so it's just kinda like, "Oh, it's 13, huh? It's been here that long."
Cal's going to be rating these apparently in chat. Rates this one as a meh. That's kind of a, where did that gray hair come from on the old scale? Nothing major. Just, meh, meh. Troy, when was the last time you played DC?
Oh man, it's been a few years. Even though when I try to think about it, it feels like it's only been 3 or 4 years since I remember watching Total Biscuit cover the launch of the
Oh,
game.
yeah, yeah.
I miss him.
He's the one that brought this game to my attention, and it's probably actually in reality it's probably been that long since I played the game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely at least 3 to 4 years ago, playing it on the PlayStation with my brothers on different streams and stuff like that. We were just goofing around after everybody kind of dove into Neverwinter for a little bit, and then, let's go play something else, and DCUO hit that list for a little while. Not long. Again, it's one of those ones that it's just like, I don't have negative feelings towards it or think that it's bad or anything. I'm just like, yeah, I don't really feel like playing that. Yeah. All right. So you want to feel a little older. That's fine. I got a double whammy here for you. And both of them have released a ton of information about what's planned for 2024. EverQuest II will turn 20 this year. Can't drink, but almost there. The original.
It can in some places.
That's true. Here in Pennsylvania, you can't drink. In the U.S., you can't drink. EverQuest, the original, will hit 25. So it's been drinking for a few years, and it feels like it. Like, it's EverQuest, you're drunk. Go home. So EverQuest 2 turns 20. The original EverQuest turns 25. Obviously, they both dropped roadmaps and things, courtesy of PC Gamer. They had like a 24-hour exclusive on it, so we wrote it up and just linked to them anyway. We didn't wait for... I hate that, by the way. Like
The exclusives?
Yeah, like the one-day exclusives, right? Like, I mean, we saw what happened with the day before and IGN's cavalcade of exclusives with the day before. And somebody else right now, who is it? It's Nightingale, actually, I think. Yeah, Nightingale, Troy, is doing exclusives with IGN. And I'm just like, I get it, right? Big audience, you want to get the front and center. Yeah, I don't begrudge them that. But you did see what happened with the last few big exclusives in the MMO space. Anyway, I digress. Of course, we're going to have expansions in both of these products sometime this year. On the EverQuest side of things, the DirectX 11 API port is finally live, so you can get some, improved graphics and stability for as much as the EverQuest graphics are going to be improved. And it does allow the game to run in non-emulated graphics modes, so there could be some future enhancements to the art down the road. Now, both of these teams drop full roadmaps basically by quarter, by month in some cases. So definitely check them out on MMOBomb. I feel like EverQuest is the one that gets me the most, Troy. Every time I see us writing an EverQuest anniversary piece, I'm like, God, how are you still here? And how am I still here?
And how are you still dropping more updates? You're older than a lot of MMOs out there. You're dropping more updates than a lot of MMOs out there. And I just I see EverQuest just keep kicking along, and then I look at some other MMOs, and it just makes me sad for them. I'm like, if EverQuest can do it, how can you not do it?
It's another.
EverQuest can do it because it was out before all the other MMOs. It got a set-in audience that continues to play and don't move to anything else because they're at home in EverQuest.
EverQuest 2 and Lord of the Rings Online are the two MMOs that I'm constantly like, I would love to go back and check that out and play it in a meaningful way, but I'd have to have friends go with me. Nobody's interested in the moment. We'll come back in a couple of months. And then I never come back in a couple of months. Like, I always look at EverQuest and EverQuest 2 and just wonder, how are you still here? Obviously, they have enough players to make it financially viable or it wouldn't be here, but it's one that I constantly go, really, like, how much? And then we see a financial report and we're like, wow, okay, I guess you're doing pretty good. And it's like the EverQuest people, that are just in that, they will never leave. They're never going anywhere. Fuck it.
Nope. They're happy where they're at.
More power to them. More power to them. All right. How's this one do for you? Lord of the Rings Online, speaking of the devil. And Troy, this is one. Are you still in this? Like, you fell into LOTRO hard recently.
It is one of the MMOs that is currently installed on my computer, yes.
It's turning 17.
It looks it.
I mean, LOTRO graphically was kind of questionable when it came out.
That's very true.
My favorite thing at the launch of LOTRO was the falling cow outside of Bree.
You know, though, if you're okay with the way MMOs kind of used to be, it's a lot of fun. You have to be really cool with that old school questing and grinding those quests and getting a ton of quests and stuff like that. But if you're okay with that, it's actually gameplay trumps all, and the gameplay is actually really fun.
What year did it come out? 17 years ago would have been 2007, friendo. 2007 for LOTRO. Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously been talk over the last year of like a graphics overhaul, then that kind of got sidelined by some financial stuff. That's not to say that they haven't made incremental improvements. Like changing some of the different character models and some of the environments a little bit and making improvements. But I know like they did talk a while ago, a number of years ago, that they would like to do a whole overhaul of it. And that was a possibility. It doesn't really seem to be a possibility anymore. But they have been making improvements. One thing that they have done that I absolutely love, and I already saw it mentioned in chat once, and other games need to do this, the variable overworld difficulty stuff, Troy. That is a great
really
MMO
cool
feature. Tell us a little bit about that in case people don't know.
Yeah, basically you can change the difficulty of the overworld content. If you want something a little harder, you can make it a little harder for you. If you just enjoy the breezing through things, kind of like I do, you can stick on standard mode and kind of just play the game how it was originally intended. But if you want to crank up the difficulty some, you can do that and make it more of a challenge for you.
What are we looking at as far as their plans for the year, Q?
Well, of course, you have all the events, the festivals, the various festivals and stuff. They're adding two total 3-player instances. There's in the first quarter, basically now they're working on adding it. A 6-player instance, a 12-player raid. They're continuing the story, of course, they're continuing the story. Various missions, and then the 17th anniversary stuff kicks off in the spring. There will be a new expansion in the fourth quarter. So there's just a lot going on for them. And
then, obviously, we still have, Troy, potential news at some point about the other Lord of the Rings MMO over at your company.
Yeah, the one coming from Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
It's going to be interesting because that one's going to affect has the possibility to affect two different games, which is LOTRO and itself. So it'd be interesting. It's going to be very interesting when that one comes out to see, what kind of quality it is, what kind of game it produces, and how it affects LOTRO.
World of Warcraft, the MMO specifically, turns 20 this year, while Warcraft itself, as the IP, will celebrate its 30th birthday this year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the one that gets me, because I still remember sitting, and I don't remember being that young, but obviously I was playing the original Warcraft multiplayer over LAN with my brother. He would let me play Warcraft every once in a while. Usually we were playing StarCraft, but sometimes he would be like, okay, I'll play some Warcraft with you. And Warcraft's the one where I had a chance. For some reason, I was better at Warcraft, and he was much better at StarCraft.
30 for the IPQ. 30. 20 for the MMO.
I mean, I don't know why you expect me to be shocked by any of this.
It is weird though. Like if you think back on your MMO history, right? Like World of Warcraft and EverQuest II were virtually, for all intents and purposes, at the same time when you look back. Like obviously there was a difference in timing. One came first, one came second, right? But it's wild when you look back on it now and you're like, both of those games are turning 20 this year, EverQuest II and World of Warcraft. But I still don't look at World of Warcraft the same way I look at EverQuest 2 as far as being an old MMO, right? And obviously
maybe because EverQuest was already there being an old MMO, and it's just kind of like EverQuest. EverQuest is old,
yeah,
right? Maybe it's because I remember I didn't play EverQuest, but I remember when I was in college, one of the girls that I hung out with named Raven. By the way, like that was her real name. Named she
that's so Raven.
She played EverQuest, and we were
Did
lucky enough to
did you get
be
that?
at
I said
yes,
that's so
yeah.
Raven. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard
Did you get
I
you
just
get it?
ignored it.
Nobody
I
left,
just
Mike.
ignored it.
Nobody
Okay.
left.
All right. I just want to point it out. That's all.
I made a choice to ignore the pop culture reference. But anyway, she played EverQuest, and we were lucky enough to be on this campus that kind of let the nerds do whatever we wanted to. So we spent a lot of time printing out lots of random stuff on the internet. And she walked out one day with a stack like that was EverQuest guides.
Oh,
Like
jeez.
shit that she had printed out, like this massive stack. And we were just like, that's really involved, that thing you've got going on there. But that was back in the days, right, when we were using the online guides for stuff. Like I spent an entire summer playing Final Fantasy games using those online guides.
That's when Troy was like, we better print all this shit off quick. You don't know how long this internet thing's going to last.
Right.
Well, the thing is, we probably should have printed all that shit off quick, because a lot of those sites and stuff are gone now.
True.
Like some of the stuff that like was really popular then, just gone from the internet.
Elder Scrolls Online turns 10, so it makes it to double digits this year. Yesterday they had their stream, Troy. They announced their Gold Road expansion, finally getting scribing, which is kind of their version of like the precursor for spell crafting from other Elder Scrolls games. Looking like a pretty, standard ESO year. Like I didn't see anything in the, we're going to go to a new place. We're going to get a new story. We're going to get the new scribing feature, and away we go. Like there was nothing oof to me about the presentation. It was just, okay, more of the stuff that you've probably enjoyed. We're going to give you more of that, and, add a shit ton to the cash shop as we go.
And we're gonna add the closest thing we can to spellcrafting, so you will shut up every year,
right?
And quit saying spellcrafting. Give us spellcrafting.
10 years. 10 years. That's one that kind of works the other way for me. Like I feel like Elder Scrolls is older. It's one of those like MMOs I look at and they're like, "Oh, we're turning 10." I'm like, "Really? Only 10? You're not like 14, 15. I feel like you were around longer than you're saying you're around." Finally, Dungeons and Dragons Online. Now, this is a twofold one. Just like World of Warcraft, right? We gave you World of Warcraft 20, Warcraft as an IP 30. Dungeons and Dragons is doing this same thing, right? So they've got their own anniversary coming up, which is going to be their 18th. So in the US here, they'll now be able to vote and serve in the military. Godspeed, DDO. And the Dungeons and Dragons IP itself has a big one this year, Q, a big anniversary.
Yeah, it is. Like Tori said, 5 decades in reference to my ability to hold on to things. You are so wrong, by the way. But yeah, it's turning 50. Like people have been huddling in their basements being accused of Satanism and everything else for 50 years.
50. Like that one, I'm not surprised. It's very weird for me because like I'm not surprised that it's older because I remember like seeing D&D books in like my dad's books when I was growing up. But then when I see it's like 50 and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I guess I am 42. So like that checks
Right,
out.
yeah, like there were people already doing Dungeons and Dragons by the time we appeared on the planet.
Again, this is
But
another one. DDO dropped a roadmap, broke it down by quarter. They're gonna obviously there's gonna be like the Lunar Year of the Dragon stuff. They're gonna have their 18th anniversary stuff on February 28th. Obviously, that's gonna be very dragon themed, as I'm sure you can imagine. And then they're gonna be doing some adventure packs, expansion pre-releases, and things like that. So every single one getting expansions this year. And every single one celebrating milestone anniversaries. Let us know now how old you feel in the comments and which one makes you feel the oldest. Let's finish it up here before we go to the weekly bombs with a few just quick news hits just to kind of get your take on a few things, Cats. Troy, I'm going to go to you first. Apple and Epic's lawsuit is basically over now in the United States. There were multiple appeals through appellate courts. The Supreme Court has basically, they said, no, we're not going to hear this case. You're done. Which means everything reverts back to the Court of Appeals rulings, which pretty much put Apple in the winning seat here. It does make the small caveat that Apple can no longer refuse to let people advertise that there are other ways that you could go buy in-game currency or whatever in your app. So they do have to at least advertise that fact to you, saying, hey, you can just go to the website for the game and buy it if you want. They can't prohibit people from doing that. But basically everything else got tossed down to out of the Supreme Court and down to the original rulings, which means Epic's accusations against Apple aren't going to fly. The rulings stand in place. So Apple walks away, for the most part, the winner. Tim Sweeney from Epic Games chiming in, of course, as he is wont to do on Twitter, saying the Supreme Court denied both sides' appeals of the Epic v. Apple antitrust case. The court battle to open iOS to competing stores and payments is lost in the United States. A sad outcome for all developers. Now the district court's injunction against Apple's anti-steering rule is in effect, and developers can include in their apps buttons, external links, or other calls to action that direct consumers to purchasing mechanisms in addition to IAP. As of today, developers can begin exercising their court-established right to tell U.S. customers about better prices on the web. Those awful Apple-mandated confusion screens are over and done for. So a mild Epic win, but ultimately losing the main battle. Now, interestingly here, too, this isn't quite over, as Apple already, and I updated the piece here, Apple yesterday or the day before, Apple already is trying to get courts to reclaim $73.4 million in court fees that they would like Epic to take care of, since Epic, quote-unquote, lost most of the things they were going after. There's a hearing scheduled for late in March to go over the issue. And as if this wasn't like catty enough, the whole situation, Troy, Apple actually claims to have spent over $83 million defending itself. But they're only going after Epic for $73.4 million because they reduced the ask by $10 million due to Epic's partial win in court.
That's worth about $10 million. We'll let you slide on that part.
Yeah, they were like, you didn't totally lose, so we're only going to ask for 73, not $83 million. It'll be interesting to see how much, if any, of that they recoup. Of course, they're going to allege that like this was a multifaceted, multi-pronged attack against us, that the courts ended up finding there was nothing going wrong here, so we had to defend ourselves against false accusations. I don't know. I mean, it did get tied up in the courts long enough that there were some courts that agreed this needs to be reviewed, and that means it wasn't necessarily frivolous. It'll be interesting to see how the courts decide. Now that it's all over, Troy, who do you view as the winner here? Was Google always, or was Apple always in the right here? Or, are you sad to see that Epic wasn't able to break down that walled garden and allow other payment methods directly through the platform?
I've always kind of, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I've always kind of sided with Apple on this. If you want to appear on their platform that they've built and the audience that they have and that they've garnered, you should have to pay to play. Essentially, if you want all that, Apple should deserve a cut of it if you're going to appear on their store on their devices. So I've always kind of been on Apple's side of this for the most part. The ability to advertise other payment methods, I mean, yeah, I guess whatever, but yeah, it's an Apple win, I think, for the most part here, and rightly so.
Q, agree or disagree?
I mean, I'm not a huge Apple fan. I don't really, like massive businesses and stuff like that.
I don't own an Apple
super
anything.
freaking
Just for
rich
the record, I
anyway.
don't own a single Apple
Right.
device
But
at all.
it is one of those things. They are providing a service, right, for you to be on their platform in some way. And I don't know. It might just be that it would have been better if they were like Google, in that Google you can just go download and put it on without having to go through the store at all, right? It's risky. It's risky to do that kind of stuff, but you have the option to do it. You can't really do that without hacking your iPhone or your iPad or whatever. But they are paying to be on. They are on Apple's service. Apple is spending money on the support structure and everything behind it. And to be honest, in this case, in this case, it's two really annoying rich people arguing with each other.
That's
And
very
it's just
true.
Tim Sweeney was just a bit more obnoxious about it because he was out there trying to make himself look like a hero to the people or something.
So on that front, though, I do think it was an admirable effort. I was always interested in this case because of its knock-on effects.
But it wasn't the effort; it was the attitude that went with it.
Oh yeah, like one time he compared it to the civil rights movement. Remember that?
Yeah, like it was just so the optics on it were so terrible.
He's trying so hard to martyr himself, like it was ridiculous.
It was just not like if he had just brought it down a level, like it. He might have seemed a little less unhinged about the entire thing, but yeah, I don't care.
I was always curious how it was going to go because of the knock-on effects, right? Because every company does this, right? To be on the Sony PlayStation, you pay some sort of dividend or marketing deal or contract to Sony. Right. And they dictate the terms of that, whether you're going to give them 20%, 30%, 40%. And most of these companies hover at around 30%. Of course, the Epic Game Store being, purposely an exception to that rule. And so I always wanted to watch this with the eye of because I don't care about Apple either. I'm an Android baby through and through. Mm-hmm. If this walled garden falls, there's more litigation coming. Because then you have to go after Steam, then you have to go after PlayStation, then you have to go after Xbox, then you have to go after Nintendo for their own digital online walled gardens and the locked-in place contracts that go with those as well. Obviously, now we're not going to see that, at least here in the United States. There are some other pieces of Epic, Apple, Google, or I should say Epic and Google more so overseas that we'll have to see how those play out too. But in the States, done and decided, and now Epic might have to pay Apple some court fees. We'll see how that goes in late March. Now, the next thing you may ask why I didn't include it in the new games, because it is a new game coming out. Square Enix's Foamstars will be coming out February 6th. Remember, this is PlayStation only. It will be part of PlayStation Plus when it comes out on February 6th. So if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, you can snag the game for free, provided you do so before the end of the PlayStation Plus month, which will be March 4th. If you don't have PlayStation Plus or you forget to download it on PlayStation Plus, this game will be $30. And yeah, you will still need at least the minimum PlayStation subscription for the online multiplayer type stuff. That's kind of a foregone conclusion with these types of games. The reason I bring this here and not in the new stuff is the game looks cute, great. I'm definitely going to try it out, particularly since it's going to be free with my PlayStation sub. Fantastic, thumbs up, cool, cool, cool. It was acknowledged, though, and I want your opinions on this, that Square Enix did come out and say there is AI content generated in this game. Now, Square Enix in their New Year's letter had said they were going to be aggressive about using AI. They looked at it more in the improving processes and back-end stuff, payroll, management, development processes. But this game specifically has AI content in it. And they said that it was only about 0.01% of the content in the game was AI-generated content. Which, first off, I got to say, A, you're either lying, or B, there was no point in you using AI-generated content at all.
Like, really, why? Why? If it's such a minute amount, why would you even bother with that when you've got artists sitting right there that are already doing work on the game? Like,
if it's really 0.01, then you didn't need it. You were either running a test, in which case you didn't need to put the content in the game, because now it's just created a dumb headline for you, right? That there's AI content in this game. Because like it or not, there are people that are very, very much opposed to AI being a content creator or generator in video games. And that's litigation that's still going to have to happen over time here as laws catch up to AI and copyright and all the fun stuff that goes with that type of discussion. We're years away from any of that being settled or litigated in any meaningful way. So this is the world we operate in right now. Like, if you were going to just run a test, then you didn't need to include that content if it was literally 0.01%. You didn't need to include it, and you don't need this headline. It's a dumb headline. It's a self-inflicted wound right now. Or, like, were you trying to get some type of subsidy from somebody because AI was used in the creation of the game? Like, it's very weird to have to acknowledge that, yes, Troy, we used AI to generate content, but don't worry, it's only 0.01%. Like, this is such a dumb headline.
And they keep pushing the AI thing, but they seem to be aware by, making it clear, like, hey, it was a very small amount, that it's not necessarily what consumers are looking for or what they want out of their games. So it's interesting they're pushing that, the AI information out there, that they're going to be using it for more and more stuff.
Tori, didn't U.S. courts already say that AI art can't be copyrighted? Yes, that's not the copyright battle I'm talking about. I'm talking about the copyright battle that comes with AIs learning how to generate those things off of the work of actual artists who have not given the permission for their potentially copyrighted, not speaking for all artists here, but potentially copyrighted or trademark work to be part of the AI's learning that it could then use as part of its output. That's the copyright portion I'm talking about, not whether or not you can copyright AI art. Last thing on the little bump headlines here. Overwatch is going to be changing over the next couple of years. And Aaron Keller, game director, put up a post this past week about how, like, maybe 2 years from now, he doesn't see the game looking the same way. And most of that kind of makes sense, right? You iterate in the way your audience determines you should iterate to keep that audience or gain to that audience. And they've tested like a quicker play feature this past weekend, and they're doing all kinds of stuff like that. But one of the things he said in his director's take post was that they're going to be making some changes come the next season, season 9. Both tank and damage heroes will get a modified, tuned-down version of the support self-healing passive. This should give non-support players more options in terms of sustaining themselves. And his overarching point in the director's take, Troy, was that when when you get into a game of Overwatch where everybody's working together the way the game was designed to be played, it's fantastic. When you get into that match where everybody wants to be their lone gun, go do whatever the hell they want to do, they're not necessarily interested in the teamwork, the game feels horrid. And things like party frames, which is a feature in PvE stuff, but is not in PvP stuff, but Aaron Keller says could very much become one, a PvP feature soon. Self-healing passives, things like that could change the game to balance things out in those, hey, it's not really working as a team right now, but at least this is still semi-viable because of these new features. Now, there was a ton of backlash to this, particularly from, hardcore Overwatch 2 players who were like, well, then why do we need support classes? Like, what are we doing playing support if people can self-heal? And to the point where Aaron Keller had to clarify with a following tweet, the follow-up tweet. He said, it's one part, the self-heal, of a much larger set of changes coming to the game in Season 9. Internally, we're talking about and targeting some of these changes as damage spikiness in the game, the role of DPS in securing kills, and the strength of healing. And he said that it may have been a mistake to mention that specific self-healing feature without having a little more context around why they would be looking at that.
Yeah. It's not like your audience is going to take one thing you say and freak out about it or nothing.
So, little Overwatch news. Let us know how you feel about Overwatch self-healing. Like, I feel like it could be a good thing, but then I also do understand the argument of it's a team-based game and you're taking away the need for some of the teamwork simply because there are people that don't play it that way. So which audience is bigger? Because it seems if you're going to cater to the ones that aren't playing as teams, to me, that's probably your bigger audience, which seems weird, and you probably have more problems than you know about. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Troy, you're up.
This is an MMO related, but bomb to the Indiana Jones video game. That looks very interesting, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow in Gaming Gumbo. I don't know if you peeked at the notes already, but
I did.
That'll be there. Go ahead, Q.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to the snow and ask that you guys come and pick your shit up, please.
Get rid of all of it for you.
Please take it
Dear
back.
Northerners, your weather is drunk in my yard. Please come get it.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to ESO's 2024 plans because I like ESO getting new stories, new zones, and new features. But I'm also going to give an A-bomb to the TESO stream because like the back half of it was straight marketing. And I know they do that in most of their streams, but it seemed to like I was getting pressed to buy Gold Road like minutes into the stream. Like minutes into the stream. And to me, like, yeah, great. I can't wait. Fantastic. I'm going to go check it out when it comes out. But I don't know. It's kind of like Dawn Trail with Final Fantasy XIV for me. I'm certainly interested. I'm certainly going to play it, but I'm not hyped for either of them because they just kind of, at least from everything we know about most of them, both of them right now, they just kind of maintain the status quo. I'm okay with that, but I'm not particularly excited by it, if that makes sense. From
even the spell crafting wasn't as exciting as it could have been.
From chat, Tori the Chicken says, A-bomb to Nadeo, who for some reason put a car from 2003 in their game without updating the hitbox, which is buggy AF. Only 3 months later do they update it at all. Nice. Takal says, DeBomb to the Packers for making it to face my 49ers. We now get to eliminate you for a 6th time. Yeah, how about them Cowboys, huh? How about them Cowboys? I had to put this one first because I have to read it. It's from The House Always Wins. A-bomb to everyone except Mike.
Wow.
Yeah, you two are about to get it. Frankly,
And not care.
Frankly, I am shocked and appalled by the anti-fun activists on this show and in chat. Palworld is a work of genius. Anyone with the smallest amount of taste can see that. It's an instant buy for me, and I'll probably buy multiple copies for my friends. If they don't want to play it, well, screw them. I'll get new friends. This game is like a Pokemon supervillain simulator. You can arm your Pokemon with heavy weaponry, eat the Pokemon if you're hungry, feed wild Pokemon to your Pokemon, enslave the Pokemon to work in your factories, poach rare endangered Pokemon from wild animal reserves, and if you're starving, you can sacrifice your own Pokemon as an emergency food source. So I'm going to name all of them Paimon. This game is amazing, and you are a sad excuse for a boomer if you don't want to play it. House, I love you. I absolutely love you. Like I said last week, like, I don't know, maybe it'll capture me for a week or two, and that's it. If so, I don't care. I paid nothing for it on Game Pass, and those 2 weeks of smiles will be worth it. Maybe it'll go deeper and stick with me for a while. Who knows? Don't care. All about it. And you're right. These sad, sad boomers. Sad boomers.
I mean, I already played a game where you can feed critters to other critters. It was called Viva Pinata.
Go ahead, Q.
Dits 19. A-bomb to the smartphone
I actually think
market.
that's Dritz, and I mistyped it.
Oh, well, okay.
That's a
Dritz
long-time
19.
viewer.
This is Mike's fault. This is Mike's fault. A-bomb to the smartphone market. There are almost no newer compact models, and the ones available are needlessly expensive for me. Sony Xperia 5Vs and a phone 9 or 10. I can spend the money. I'm just used to much, much less on something like a phone. I don't game on it.
And it is Ditzed. For some reason in my head it was Drizzed. Go ahead, Q or Troy.
Terminus Tartaros. A-bomb, I guess. I heavily disagree with the Heroes of the Storm makes a comeback.
Oh, our predictions from last week.
Yes. Unless the game gets a fundamental change, like we are talking basically a new game. Why? Simply put, the game is boring. Boring to play, yes, but also boring to watch. Now, forget about esports. That is not important, but Twitch and YouTube promotion is. You want to advertise your game, make people watch the game, then get excited. Then they want to play themselves. The problem on HOTS is that it does not get you excited when watching it. And I will die on this hill. Also, the game is more toxic than any other MOBA.
How you feel about that, Troy? By the way, Heroes of the Storm got a ninja patch again this past week on the PTR, just to kind of further prove our point.
Yeah, it's getting more updates, which is very interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see, given my prediction. As far as toxicity, I haven't ran into that in HOTS. Now, there's not the player base that it used to be in HOTS.
True, yeah.
So maybe all the toxic folks have gone back to League of Legends, but I don't recall ever thinking HOTS was like an overly toxic MOBA. Is it slower than some of the other ones? Yes. Did I think it was boring at first too? Yes. It does take some getting used to, some getting to know your characters and stuff, and kind of learning how the maps work and things like that. But not a completely unfounded take. I will give you that.
Question of the week last week was, what's your multiplayer gaming prediction for 2024? And if you didn't have one, what's your take on ours? So you can kind of include them. We can include them in the review at the end of the year. Terminus kind of jammed theirs together, so I left it in the A-bombs. But you got Terminus's prediction. HOTS ain't going anywhere. Misfit Rain chimes in saying, I agree with Troy. Nightingale's my most anticipated game so far this year. Will occupy my time till then with Enshrouded when it comes out this month. It's the upgraded EverQuest Next landmark. Don't hate, Mike. Wait till the community starts showing their creations. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. All right. I'll wait quietly and watch. Go ahead, Q.
Breckner, my predictions, mobile gaming is going to stagnate this year with no major titles blowing up and staying relevant for more than a few days. MMOs are also going nowhere this year with only flavor of the month games coming out that will keep you entertained for a couple of weeks before fading into obscurity. Overall, a boring year for gaming with no new genre getting super popular like the Vampire Survivor type games from last year, and only a very few solid titles like Dragon's Dogma 2 and some smaller games like Last Epoch bringing something new to some popular genres.
Man,
that's a sunny outlook for the year.
That's bleak as shit, Breckner. Damn. If you like video games, get bent. 2024 sucks. Oof. I mean, I hope you're wrong. Just out of wanting to be entertained and have fun with some stuff. I hope you're wrong. but I can't say that you're not entirely right. I mean, there are a few things. I'm looking forward to Soulframe. Like that's one. That's one. Hey, since question of the week this week, since we talked about MMO Anniversaries this year or on this show and how aged some of these are but are still kicking, I want to know from your point of view, are MMOs releasing today better or worse than MMOs of the past? Why or why not? And obviously, I don't want this to turn into, oh, they're better because I have better graphics. That's fine. Like, if you absolutely love graphics. But as sitting down, playing it, and enjoying an MMO game with friends, the ones that are coming out the last 5 years or so, are they better than the ones 20 years old? Let us know in the comments below why or why not. Don't forget your weekly bomb while you're there. Bomb for something good, bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. Until next week, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, check me out tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio for the Gaming Gumbo podcast.
Hells yeah. Cute.
I'm still lurking on Twitter at Quentin.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb, and you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast, a stream, or we're just hanging out. Until next time, gang, we appreciate you being here. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.